I owe you more than words could ever express, more than any sentence or paragraph could hope to capture. When I think back to the moment our paths crossed, it often feels like the universe intervened at the exact moment I needed someone the most. You pulled me out of a darkness so thick and consuming that I couldn't see a way forward, not even a small sliver of light to guide me. I was trapped inside my own mind, weighed down by doubts, fears, and the quiet belief that maybe I wasn't meant to rise above the circumstances that had shaped me for so long. But then you appeared, not as a rescue, not as a savior, but as someone who saw something in me that I couldn't identify in myself. You gave me a reason to keep going, to get up even when the weight of everything felt unbearable, and you sparked a fire within me that I genuinely believed had been extinguished years ago. Your presence in my life changed the way I moved through the world. You inspired me to try harder, to push past the limits I had quietly accepted as unchangeable. You encouraged me to dig deeper, to look within myself for strength I had assumed I lacked, and to confront the parts of me I had been afraid to face. You didn't just influence my story, you became the driving force behind it. Without you, I wouldn't be standing where I am today. Each milestone I've reached, every victory I've earned, no matter how small or large, carries traces of your influence. It's impossible to separate my growth from the belief you had in me, because the truth is, you fueled so much of the effort I poured into changing my life. When I look back on the journey that brought us here, I finally understand how deeply your presence shaped the choices I made. All the long hours I spent trying to improve, all the nights I stayed awake wrestling with my thoughts, all the sacrifices I made that silently broke pieces of me, all of that effort was propelled by the confidence you had in me. Even when I questioned myself, even when I hesitated or stumbled, you never wavered. That consistency, that unwavering belief, created a foundation that I began to lean on more and more as time went on. I made significant changes in my life, changes I never imagined I would have the strength or courage to make. Many of them were painful, uncomfortable, and emotionally draining. I had to distance myself from situations and people who were holding me back, and although I knew it was necessary, it didn't make the process any easier. Letting go often felt like losing parts of myself, like stepping into unfamiliar territory without any guarantee that things would improve. But every step I took, every decision I made that forced me to confront uncomfortable realities, was made a little easier because you were there reminding me, directly or indirectly, that growth rarely happens inside comfort zones. There were countless moments when I felt lost and overwhelmed. Moments when I questioned everything, my abilities, my path, my worth. I often found myself standing at emotional crossroads with no idea which direction to take. And yet, through every confusing moment, through every high and low, your support remained steady. It was as though you saw a version of me I couldn't yet recognize, a future version of myself buried beneath layers of insecurity, fear, and doubt. You saw potential where I saw flaws. You saw strength where I saw fragility. You saw someone capable of evolving, even when I feared I was destined to stay the same. You gave me the courage to peel back those layers slowly, patiently, sometimes painfully, until I began to see glimpses of the person you always believed I could become. The lessons I learned along the way were some of the hardest I've ever faced. Many of them came at a cost, emotionally, mentally, and sometimes even physically. But each lesson pushed me a little further, shaped me a little more, and forced me to confront truths I had spent years avoiding. I had to acknowledge my weaknesses, not as proof of inadequacy but as opportunities for growth. I had to admit that I wasn't always right, that I had made mistakes, and that holding on to certain things, habits, memories, people, was preventing me from becoming the version of myself you saw so clearly. The process was one of unlearning old patterns, relearning healthier ones, and rebuilding myself from the ground up. It required resilience, vulnerability, trust, and an openness to change that I didn't think I possessed. And through every step of that transformation, you were there, sometimes guiding me, sometimes challenging me, sometimes simply standing quietly beside me during my darkest moments. Your presence alone reminded me that I wasn't alone, that I didn't have to navigate everything in silence or isolation. Knowing that someone believed in me made every tear, every stumble, and every moment of doubt feel a little less heavy. It's difficult to articulate just how grateful I am, because the words thank you feel too small, too ordinary, too soft to hold the weight of everything I feel. What you've given me goes so far beyond encouragement or support. You gave me a sense of purpose, a sense of identity, a belief in myself that I was sure had been permanently damaged. You changed my life in ways I never imagined possible, ways I didn't think anyone could influence. When I reflect on the journey that led us to this point, it almost feels like you had some form of foresight, as if you saw the future before I could even imagine it. As though, from the very beginning, you knew we were meant to arrive here together, not just as two separate individuals moving through life, but as two paths that were destined to converge. It often feels like you had the ability to look beyond my fears and failures and see a version of me I didn't yet know how to reach. You saw a future where I wasn't just surviving day to day, weighed down by doubt and uncertainty, but one where I was thriving, finding joy, purpose, and strength in myself. For so long, I didn't believe I could be the one for anyone, not even for myself. I was convinced I would always live in the shadows of my own potential, always falling short of what I could be. I spent years stuck in cycles of self-doubt, repeating the same narratives that kept me small. But you challenged all of that. You gave me evidence, simply through your belief, that I was capable of so much more. You taught me to confront my inner demons, those quiet but persistent voices telling me I wasn't enough, wasn't strong enough, wasn't worthy enough. Instead of running from those voices, you taught me how to face them head-on. You showed me that strength isn't defined by perfection or by the absence of fear, but by the willingness to rise after every fall, to keep moving even when the path is unclear, and to trust myself even when self-trust feels unfamiliar. You helped me understand that true resilience comes not from pretending to be unbreakable, but from embracing vulnerability and learning how to rebuild after breaking. You also taught me that vulnerability isn't something to hide or be ashamed of. For so long, I equated vulnerability with weakness, believing that admitting my fears or insecurities made me fragile. But you showed me otherwise. You showed me that vulnerability creates connection, growth, and understanding. You helped me realize that embracing my fears doesn't diminish my strength, it enhances it. It makes me human, real, open, and capable of genuine transformation. Most importantly, you taught me the power of belief, not just belief in others, but belief in myself. Your faith in me became a mirror reflecting back the version of myself I never allowed myself to see. Every time I doubted myself, your belief stood as proof that I was more capable, more deserving, and more resilient than I realized. That belief helped reshape the way I viewed my own potential. It made me feel like I was enough, like I was worthy of good things, and that I had the power to change my own story. You helped me realize that my destiny isn't predetermined by my past or limited by my fears. Instead, it's shaped by the choices I make, the courage I cultivate, and the belief I hold in myself. Because of you, I learned how to trust my own instincts, how to stand tall even when I felt shaky, and how to move forward even when uncertainty clouded the path. Because of you, I learned that I don't have to live in the shadows. I can step into the light and claim the life I once thought was out of reach. You have been the catalyst for my growth, the quiet force behind my courage, and the reason I found hope in moments when hope felt impossible. Everything I've become, everything I continue to strive for, carries your fingerprints. And though I know words may never be enough to express the depth of my gratitude, I hope you can feel the sincerity in every sentence, every thought, and every realization. What you've given me is not something that can be measured, it's something that has transformed me from the inside out. And for that, I will always be profoundly, wholeheartedly grateful.